Sanchez. Brian is a personal trainer at Fitness for 10 in Carson City, Nevada. It's on Fairview, Carson City, Nevada. Um, Go say hi to him. You have questions. I loved what you said at one of our last videos that, hey, if you're not a client and you have a break, ask a question. We're not going to charge you for it. So I appreciate that. And if you guys, have questions, put them in the, um, put them down below, and we'll take them from there. So welcome, Brian.
Thanks for having me again, Steve. Yeah, hey, whatever we can do to help anyone, this is why we're here. We're here to take care of people, to help people for a better life.
Yeah, I'm a health club owner, and this is our passion, and we get pretty passionate about it. If you watch our last goof, okay, just count that as passion. So let's talk about protein. And again, I want to emphasize everyone's different. I'm way different than I was 40 years ago. And the way I eat, how I eat, what I eat is different than what it was 40 years ago to maximize my health. So I want to ask you, Brian, and kind of get your input on protein. This is such a common question. How much protein do we need in a day? How much? I mean, we'll talk about how much I eat. We'll talk about how much you eat. You're bigger than me. We're about the same age within 4 or 5 years. Um, but a common question is, how much should I eat? Can I eat, 200 grams of protein at one sitting? How does my body like it the most? But I just want to emphasize, you guys got to get out there and try this and see what your body likes. So I want to hand it off to you, Brian. Talk a little bit about, I know you're a big protein eater. Talk a little bit about your protein intake and all the personal things about your weight. That's a great thing about being a personal trainer. You get to ask people how much do you weigh? How old are you? So go ahead.
So let's just get it out there because people get afraid of this. I'm 270 pounds. I'm going to be 55 years old. I eat a lot. I'm an eating champ at my house. But protein's a big staple about what we do. Every day we're here in the facility, I'm almost confident that every single day a client from our facilities, whether they're working with us or they're just here in general, asks about how much protein do we need to have to change our bodies. Every single person is different. What you put in is going to operate a little bit differently for you. And so when we talk today, I'm going to kind of just shed over a little bit of what I do, and then kind of some guidelines to start playing with to find out for yourself. It doesn't matter what the book says. The book somewhere is going to give you a ratio or a number, but you have to find out for your body. For me, on the average, if I was to walk into a facility, somebody might tell me, hey, we're going to go a gram of protein per body weight. So I should be up into the 270s. Now, because I'm an active weightlifter, a lot of people would consider that I need to be up into the 300s. Now, for me, I'm around a 200 grams protein guy per day. And to get that amount in me, I choose to space it out throughout the day. If you're down here at our facility, you're going to see when I get here at 4 a.m. in the morning, I'm starting my first serving. I use supplements. I'm primarily whey based proteins. I use supplements. I use the whey based because, in my understanding, I absorb it quickly. But I'm very careful on how much I take in at any given point in time. I do kind of follow the rule, or I should say the idea or theory that a body can only absorb X number of grams per day. And I'm going to say around the 30-ish, maybe up to 40-ish per hour. So I space mine out. And I also understand that if you take in too much protein and your body can't process it, it's going to break it down into an energy source, which isn't necessarily bad. But if you're not using it, it has to store it. And as we know, when we store things, what's it become? A body fat. And it's not a lot, because it's we're not talking about something that's going to bulk you out in a bad way, but we have to be cognizant of all this. Also, with protein sources, my body reacts a lot differently, and I have to maintain a higher fiber load so I can process everything in my body every day. It's the nicest way to put it. Proteins. Give you an example. For me to get to my base in protein, when I come in, I'm probably by the time I leave here at noon, I'm probably in around 100 to 120 grams to get my day going, and I space that out through my mornings. What I recommend for people generally is if you find a nice protein source, whether it's vegan, vegetarian, whey, cow, as I know Steve likes a beef style of protein, whatever it is, if you have a nice 30 gram serving, go ahead and use that. See how your body feels. Put it in whatever you're going to drink and take that in. You don't necessarily have to stack that in the beginning because you're working out. I will tell you that I do think in protein sources for the real active athletes, you need to start considering 2 and 3 times more than the average person because you're using your muscles so much and you're shredding those fibers so much. This protein source that you're taking in not only just repairs the fibers as you work out and exercise, because any kind of resistance training, whether it be weightlifting or body weight workouts, you shred fiber and it changes the way your muscles are going to work. You need that protein in to keep you healthy. Plus, protein also helps in so many other ways that we're probably not going to talk a lot about that today, but you need it. Saturation, don't overload too much until you know what your body can handle. Uh, the differences in proteins, I think the animal proteins are more complete. And Steve, maybe you can touch on this because I know that you have tremendous knowledge on what to blend. When we're looking at the vegetarian style or the vegans, some of these styles of proteins, they're incomplete, which means, as you know, that they don't have all the essential amino acids. And maybe you can cover that.
Yeah, I think we have another video coming up where we actually are going to break down some of the different types of protein. But I do, if we're just talking about protein powder, and like I said, we'll hit on this more in another video. And we're talking about how do we get our body to absorb the most. But I do have an organic, grass-fed, beef-based isolate protein. I also have um, a grass-fed whey isolate protein that I also use, and these are all protein powders. I usually mix my protein powders with almond milk or macadamia nut milk, and then I do use a good quality vegan protein, and my body likes it. I mean, honestly, the way my body feels, and my body probably likes. I'm not a vegan, but I'm just being honest. I mean, my body likes that pea protein. I always spike it with leucine, but this protein powder is also an organic isolate pea protein. So um, those are the different ones that I have. I think they're all good. Just quality matters. So does that kind of go to what you're talking about, Brian?
It does. I mean, what do you think too, Steve? I mean, I like to space my proteins out. Now, I don't know how much you take in a single serving, but I'm big. I try to stay around 30 per serving when I'm doing the supplemental proteins. Otherwise, I'm eating the biggest steak I can find, the biggest piece of chicken. But on the supplement side, I'm trying to stick around 30. I don't know what you thought about that.
Yeah, and again, with my age and when I was, 20 and training very intensely, I needed to eat more often. So now, I'm testing my glucose, I'm testing ketones all the time, so I can see how my body responds and how it reacts. And if I eat about 2 times a day, again, this is for me. And hey, everybody, I don't even have me exactly figured out. So I can't emphasize enough that you got to play with this. You got to play with the macros. See how your body feels. See how you respond. See how your body composition changes. So for me, I'm trying to get at least 150 to 170 grams of protein. But see, I'm also 100 pounds lighter than Brian, And um, so I'm shooting for me, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's 170.
That's a
That's hard
great
to get,
idea.
especially though with what you're talking about. So how do I get all that protein without spiking insulin and spreading? Well, you can't spread that out. So if I'm eating 2 meals a day, I can usually get in, my first meal, I'll use bone broth because there's boom, 20 grams of protein, very protein dense. I use a high quality grass fed organic bone broth. And so I'll use that and some eggs and some type of pork or beef. So I can get up to pretty comfortably with the bone broth, I can get up to 80 grams of protein in one meal. That's a lot more than 30. My body does okay with it, but I have to do that twice to get
Right.
up to just 160 grams of protein. And we'll talk more about this on another quick video on what types of protein, not just powders, but meats and so on. But for me, that's pretty good. Um, that's a lot more protein in one sitting. But for Brian, he's not going for 270 grams of protein, his weight, because he doesn't need that much. My body, for me to stay lean and for me to maintain or even gain muscle, which is possible at my age, doing this all my life, it is possible. That's where I am right now. Where I was 20 years ago is different. If you asked me this question 20 years ago, I would have gave you a different answer. If you would have asked me 40 years ago, you would have got a way different answer. And 10 years from now, you might get another answer. How many calories am I eating and all that stuff? What are my macros? I watch them every day. I'm a health nut. I'm a freak. I don't expect people to be like me. But to answer what you're asking, Brian, I'm 70 grams in a meal if I'm doing 2 meals a day. If I'm doing 3 meals a day, then if I'm doing 3 meals a day, I'm at about 50. But here's something interesting. If I add those meals and I check my glucose, especially in the morning, which I have a very strong cortisol effect, if I'm eating 3, 4 times, 5 times a day, my glucose will sit at about 100 in the morning.
Oh,
If I do
wow.
that, yes. Now, this is me again, and I test it. I experiment on me. So if I eat 2 meals a day with that higher amount of protein and fat, my glucose, and I've been doing that now for a good 3 weeks, my glucose reading in the morning with that cortisol effect is about 83, 84, like clockwork. That's what a good 15 points lower just by eating fewer times. Again, is that going to work for you? Maybe. What's your age? What's your gender? What's your body composition? That matters. Is your body composition 35% fat or is it 10% fat? That matters. There's too many variables for us to say without one of you being a client, this is exactly what I recommend. And even after we recommend it, we're going to be wrong. We're just trying to get in the ballpark so then we can modify it and adjust it for you. So that gives you an idea of what that does just to my glucose. An average of 15, 16, 17 points lower with fewer meals. Again, I'm a few months away from 60 and I'm pretty lean. So that's, I'm just telling you about the experiment on my body. So there you
Right,
go.
right. No, I think that's fantastic. I think what's really important to take away this for anybody watching is that it's going to change. And not to say, everybody's going to be the same, because I think when we're trying to gather our own health and reel it in or manage it, we want the quick answer, we want the perfect answer. This is all a study. It's going to continually adjust, and we have to adjust with it. And just because Tom's doing it one way and Susie's doing another doesn't mean Brian's going to fit into that way. So we do have to adjust for every single person. That's really important to understand.
Great advice. Let's come back and talk again about different types of protein, how your body absorbs them, and so on. So, thanks for being here, Brian. Brian's at Fitness for 10 in Carson City, Nevada. Really encourage you, if you're interested in this, go down, say hi to him. He'll make time for you uh, and introduce himself to you. So go say hi. Brian, thanks for being with us.
We'll see you next time. Take care.